Hello, everyone. How you doing? This is Ray. It's my man Keith over here with me. I'm the host today. Legacy holders are here in my place, and I'm thankful they came over. Came over to my home, and Nisha and Rossi. Thank you guys, and I'm gonna be the host today. We're gonna have a good time, y'all. We're gonna really enjoy ourselves. So get used to this. But what I want us to speak about is we're gonna talk about relationships. We're gonna talk about when you when you're in your intent, when you get into a relationship, you're with somebody, what's your intent, what's your purpose? How do you introduce that new person, male or female, into your life, your work, your environment, your family, friends? Like, what's the approach, and is it too soon? Is it too late? Or what's a perfect angle to? These are things that everybody should ask themselves when get into an intentional, new relationship or whatever the case may be. So I just want you guys' input on it. And as Keith, Nisha, Rossi, whoever, I would love your input. Let me know.
Okay, that's an interesting conversation to have. Um, who want to start first?
Nisha, go ahead, kick it off. Look, I'm the host, all right?
Uh,
So we're gonna work this out.
I think before we can even place that responsibility on the person that we plan on bringing into our lives, like we really need to sit and think why us personally, like what do they what is that person bringing to the table? Like it's like those unanswered expectations or questions that you have. I think we come across folks at particular times in our lives and they might satisfy something that's going on, like 1% of whatever your issue is, and then we don't think about everything else that they might bring an imprint in. So if I was to start dating now, again, like which I am, so with intent and purpose. Um, I want to say I'm looking at the end game, like after the kids are grown and then it's just me. What is it that I'm going to need or want from that person? And I think before you can bring somebody in, you have to understand what it is that you need and what you want. And then what you're willing to, Rossi and I were talking about this earlier. What are you willing to tolerate in the relationship? And I shouldn't say tolerate, maybe accept in the relationship in order for you to be with your person. So until you have a good grounding of what you want out of a relationship, I feel like it's a little harder to kind of grasp what you expect somebody else to bring in there. I see your face, Rosalind. So
I'm just like, okay, okay. Um, for me, I feel like now, um, especially after my a previous relationship that I was in, I feel like now I am more intent with the timing of me introducing that that other person into, like, fully introducing them into my world, especially when it comes to meeting my son, meeting my kids, my grandbaby, any of that. Like, what's a good time frame for that? And for me, it's you're not gonna meet my son after me seeing you two or three times. Like, that's not gonna happen. Now, he might know that I'm talking to you and that I'm seeing you, but you're not gonna see my son until I'm comfortable enough to, um, I guess, expose him to that person. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying. Um, it's pretty much been me, and so he really, other than my ex that I was just speaking on, he's never seen me with anyone else. So the shock of, hey, this is your mom's dating this person. I don't want to do that to him. I'm not trying to traumatize my child. I do agree that knowing, I guess, what your expectations and what you're willing to, I wouldn't use tolerate either. I'd say like what you're willing to deal with, um, and knowing what you're willing to sacrifice as well, because it's, relationships are give and take. So you can expect this from that person and know that, okay, well, I'm willing to do this, to be with this person, but also understanding what you're willing to sacrifice to make that, to to continue in that relationship with intent and purpose. I don't know if anything that I just said made sense. I'm looking at this face Mr. Keith is making.
I agree. I think the biggest part, what we all have said the exact same thing, and I'm just weighing in on it now. But I think up front, just being honest with yourself, who you are. You know your inner you and what you really want, and just identify that up front. And I think now I'm in a different, it's been a long term marriage. So, but thinking back on it, and Ava and I, Tanisha knows my wife, we joke about it and said, I was a young man, but I knew at the time I wanted someone to help me. Not looking to, at that time, I could not carry the load by myself. I've been a federal employee, but I was on the bottom of that federal grade growth, right out of college, growing. So it was important to identify traits and things that you wanted and move from there. Now, for us, when you bring in significant your family and friends, I think it's going to be more personal, particularly if you have young children. It's I, from a male perspective, looking at it, bringing another male into the home is totally different because young boys just not going to naturally accept another father figure, a father, a man in his life, and it's just not going to be able to particular um, discipline, or it just brings a different concept, a whole different meaning, a whole different responsibility and how they approach and how they feel about that person dating their mother and going to be around me. So that is something you have to really, really think about before you start introducing them, particularly to initially to the household that you're immediately in, and then beyond your family and friends. I think that's, even though you're dating for a purpose, you still need to be selective as to whom and when.
And the hit on what Keith's saying, I'm totally agree with you, man. Like discernment, discernment is so key in this because you have to be careful, like and very selective, and on who you judge and who you bring around your family, your friends, and especially as little ones. I've been on both um, ends of that where when my father passed, my mom started dating somebody else, and it was an adjustment for me. Even when I was older, I was still 13, 14, but I was like, that's not my dad. That's not, it's not my father. So children, especially, you have teenagers, even younger kids, you have young kids. They're like, well, who is this person? And that goes male or female, and coming from my side, like I have a soon to be 2 year old. So like I got to be very careful whoever I introduce because he's impressionable at that age at everything. He looked for mommy and daddy. You know what I mean? So I just like Keith said, like we all said, like it's tough. My question though, I really want to ask, legacy holders, like when is the right time? Like we're all saying the same, but like to hit off what you were saying, Rossi, like when do you know, okay, now is the time? Like what gives you that, okay, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
I,
Oh,
oh,
right. Go
no,
ahead.
um, I don't think there really is like, hey, in 90 days, in 2 years, in 3 months. It's no different than when you're in a relationship and you break up and then you're like, when is it okay to move on? Or you get married and you get divorced. When do you start dating again, right? I think you have to sit and really look at your situation and really see if you are following the definition of, I don't want to say emotional intelligence anymore. There's this saying that I heard from one of my customers where she was like, hurt people listen with trigger words. And society has, and we've used the word a few times, I think we have dragged down the word emotional intelligence to where it might be demeaning sometimes as we are utilizing it, right? And let's let's twist it and start using emotional inheritance, because these are things that we are inheriting from our past experiences and we're bringing them into future, right? It's not degrading. It's a purpose. It's your perspective. That's your inheritance. That's your relationship DNA. That's the character that you built up. Ray, you and I were just talking. What did we say? We're not dating potential, we're dating patterns,
Pattern.
right? And that's what your emotional inheritance is. It's a pattern that you sat there and built. So when is the right time? The right time, I think, is the right time. When it is, when you think you have navigated the waters to say, we can't be prepared for every situation, but from the lessons learned, are we able to, address those situations and have the right tools, or at least some tools in the toolbox to get us through some of that stuff? So that's communication. Are we really able to communicate effectively with the person that we're with, right? We hear stories where people meet each other, go on the first date, in 30 days they're married, right? They've probably sat and talked about everything, those unspoken expectations, the general expectations. They probably had those deep down discussions that most of us really don't sit and have right away, as we indicated from the last show, because some folks are just scared to sit there and talk about it. So if you feel like from your perspective you've checked all the boxes to answer some of your concerns or questions about that person, then if 2 days is right for you, then it's right for you. I mean, I have a friend that as soon as she breaks up with somebody, 24 hours later, she's like, I got a new boo. And I'm like, well, dang, like that.
Congratulations.
But I don't judge her, because I'm sitting there like, well, you know what you want, right? And that's what I mean when I first started speaking. If you have answered all those questions from your perspective and you know what it is that you want and need, I don't think that there's a time frame. That time frame is placed out there because you're worried about what everybody else thinks of you. But when you lay down in the bed at night, they're not worried about your problems, good or bad. So why are you worried about when you are able to move on with someone? If the time is right, the time is right.
That makes sense.
I gotta watch how you move. I gotta see how you move before I even think about you getting into that part of my inner circle. Because that's level one. My kids, my grandbaby, that's level one of my inner circle. And yeah, I gotta see how you move. I gotta see um we definitely have to have those hard conversations. I have to be comfortable enough with you to be able to talk about some of the dark sides of my previous relationships before I can let you into that part of my life. That make sense?
So
Yeah,
what if you've done all of that?
to
Sorry.
Hmm?
like that goes back to what we were saying, the patterns.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying attention to patterns. Like what me and Nisha was talking about earlier. Like when, and that's literally what we agreed upon when we were saying, like, when we're dating, if you're dating with attention on purpose, you're like, let me pay attention to this person. Let me see this person. I'm not looking for potential. I'm not dating potential. You'll always fail dating potential because potential is exactly what it is. Potential. You know what I mean? So
It's like setting yourself up for failure.
exactly, and I've learned that, and you set yourself up for failure. So you pay attention to the patterns, and you start to learn the person. And it don't take long because people, we're creatures of habit. We all are. I'm saying we all creatures of habit. We all have certain patterns or certain ways we move and things we do. And if somebody is really into you, they're gonna pay attention to all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you'll learn fast if you really like the person. So,
It makes me
So,
think of something my grandma my great grandmother used to always tell us, when somebody shows you who they are,
believe them.
believe them
Believe them.
the first time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
so with what you just said, Rossi, and what you just said, Rich, where we are where we're at because that representative comes around a lot and blindsides us, right? So I was having a conversation with Rossi this morning. We were talking about patterns slash routines and how in the beginning, when you're trying to get to know someone, we need to be cautious that they can come in from day one and put you on a pattern real quick to where you're not even thinking that you're being controlled, or do I want to say controlled? You are being put on a routine where they can navigate through life easy, that's beneficial to them, right? So let's say you meet a guy, you meet a girl, and you guys first start talking, and it's the I work from 8 to 4, so we're only going to talk from 5 to 9, right? Like this time frame. And you don't think much of it because you just start dating the person, right? And then it just becomes a routine, right? But it's a built-in pattern it's a built-in routine that they need you to fall in line with in order from them to benefit from the selfishness that they have in that relationship, right? And you don't think much of it. Let's see, I'm trying to think of patterns that you can fall into in relationships. Because it'll make you feel like you need somebody and you really don't. You're just getting stuff that you probably haven't gotten from previous relationships. So people understand a pattern, and then you just end up falling for a person that you're not really sure who they are. Like okay, I last conversation I said chivalry. Chivalry is a pattern, and I think that when men they do it, I have to understand that it's really a false expectation a lot of the times, because in that statement of emotional inheritance, some people don't have that. Like, what if you grew up and you didn't have sisters, right? So, and then your mom passed away at a young age, so you didn't really get to understand that. So their emotional inheritance isn't a negative thing. It's just that they just don't know what they know. But then you meet a gentleman who's and their grandma was alive, their mama was alive, the great aunties and everybody. So all they know is, you know, women don't pick up anything heavy. You take the trash out, you mow the yard, and then you meet a guy like that. And I think some of those patterns, it blindsides us to a lot of things that you'll miss, because you'll be like, and I know in our situation, I speak for females, girl, I ain't have to worry about nothing. Like my man pays all the bills, he do this, he do that, like blah, 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 blah. And then in the whole meantime, he's a whole butthole. You know what I'm saying? On the other side.
Hmm.
So patterns could be good, but then patterns could be bad, right? So
it's funny you said that, Niche, because I'm gonna go back into my old back in the day tricks. That was one thing where, as a man, especially when I was out there dating and playing, it was easy to manipulate somebody because I would listen to everything you wanted and everything. I would say, oh, like you said, the whole chivalry thing. If a woman never got a door opened up for her or never been catered to and all that, and you're telling me these things. As a man, I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna say, oh, so I'm gonna make sure I open up every door. I'm gonna make sure. So it's what people that can manipulate you is because you've given them the tools too. You know what I'm saying? You've given them the tools to be able to say, hey, oh, she likes this, or he likes this, or she doesn't like this. I'm not going to do that. You know,
Yes.
so it's tough because when you're dating, you're trying to learn somebody, and you're dating, you want to tell them like, hey, this is my what people always say what's the deal breakers?
Yeah,
Here's my deal
Yeah.
breakers.
absolutely.
You tell me out the gate with deal breakers is you just gave me a blueprint on what not to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but you want to tell them, but then you don't. You know what I mean? So it's tough, but I get what you're saying on this. I definitely get what you're saying on that.
You're right, and it just continue on. You're managing expectations, what you got to do, and as a man, what we really shouldn't do is do no more than you can keep continuing
Continuing
to
to
do.
do, yes.
And it's a hard balance because we all want to put our best foot forward during that dating process.
Yes.
That's that human side. But you have to be genuine with yourself and say, can I really keep this up 1 year, 5 years,
Yeah.
10 years,
Yeah.
until we have made that commitment? Now we're not dating anymore. We dated with a purpose, and now we're going down to the altar and we're getting married. Can you continue that? Open the door at every moment, being the gym, making sure that the house is okay. You taking the trash out. I've got a thing. I don't like seeing a female cut grass. Nobody in my household is going to cut a grass. It's women do it today, but not at my house or anybody I'm involved in. It's just not that's just not possible. And until I get to where I cannot do it, I won't do it. Then I'll hire somebody to do it. But so it's really that manager expectation. I think there's women roles. If no, they're not women roles. There's things that we identify that the female should do and the things that male should do, and then we need to come together in that middle and watch manage the expectation.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Keith, you would cringe then at my house because my backyard and my garden is that's my.
Well, Ross,
I get fussed at for cutting the grass, but
what you talking about, your grass? No, your flower beds and managing that. I can be the guy to dig the hose. You can plant and but and I understand sometimes you really just need that could be your area for what you'll just come home from a hard day. That's your area to unwind and to do a mental whatever.
Mental release or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I be out there barefoot cutting grass because I like to. Yes, straight country.
Yeah, dude, she don't care.
No, see, because I wouldn't want you to cut grass, and I wouldn't. My friends come by and say, "Keith, your wife, girlfriend, what is she doing, man? You supposed to be out there.
What's going
I
on?"
let the boys cut the front, so the neighbors see them cutting the front yard, but I cut the back.
All right.
They can't see over the fence. But anyway.
I think also with society nowadays, with the whole gender roles and everything, I think a lot of it is misconstrued. Like Mr. Keith just said, a guy suffers his stature saying, "Look, you don't have to cut the grass. You have to do this." I met females, kind of like what you just said, Ross. You want to focus on your backyard. That's your thing, and he understands that, respect that. But then some females, you're dating them, and they're like, "Oh no, I can open up my own door. I don't need chivalry. I don't need." It's like you're trying to show them that, but now it's like, okay, so you don't want me to be chivalrous, but then when I do it, is it a problem? It shouldn't be an argument if I open the door for you. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen that. Like, I don't get it. Give me your take on it from a female perspective, ladies.
I literally saw somebody, and I know this. The female was like, it was pretty much like you said. She was like, "Oh, I don't need nobody to open my door. I can open my own door. I can do this. I can do that." But then when she got around certain groups of people, she expected her man to do that because she was trying to put up this put up this front that, and then, but when he didn't do it, she got mad. Yeah. And it's like, well, you've gotten me in this routine that you don't want me to do this, but now we're in front of president, whatever, CEO or whatever, and you're expecting me to know that that's what I'm supposed to do. So I really feel like a lot of that has to do with how people are raised and what they see growing up. Like I remember seeing my grandfather open doors. Like my grandma, he would go out there, he would start the car, warm the car up. When she was ready to go outside, he'd walk her outside to the car, open the driver's side door. She'd get in there, go about her business, spend up whatever money she spent, and come back, and he's unloading all this stuff out of the car. You know, I grew up seeing stuff like that. So I kind of expect that from the person that I'm with. But if somebody has never experienced that, and if like they don't understand that that's just how some people are raised, then it's kind of hard to expect them to totally accept that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I did have, I've known this girl for like since high school. And when that happened, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, people really do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny you said that, Rossi, because to hit off of that, but she played it when she wanted it to her advantage. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it makes no sense to me. I think
we can see.
Okay.
Well, so Rossi, I'm that girl, right? and as I don't have a problem saying it. I've experienced chivalry to the T. Them two gentlemen right there, like to the listen. I had a whole water line break, and I was like, the plumber said $1,000 to dig a hole, and I was like, Keith, I'm not paying $1,000 to dig the hole. I went outside and got a shovel. I'm like a fourth way in between digging the hole, and Keith is rolling up like, no, it's not. I was like, I'm not gonna ask nobody. You know what I'm saying? But that's well, a single female. You know, I'm a homeowner. There's just some things I'm like, you know, I got to sit there and do. But I've also been that female because I have had men who did the chivalry thing, and then when they get in their emotional state, it's I changed your tire, I fixed your car, I put this up, I put that up, and I'm like, but you was the male in a relationship, and then you're gonna throw that back at me? Okay, don't even worry about it. Men, unless my back is really against the wall, I'm not gonna call you. I'll go pay somebody before I ask somebody because I don't want it thrown back in my face, right? So, and I've seen a lot of men do that where chivalry is like, oh, well,
It's earned.
And my thing is, I can turn around and say, well, when I was at your house, I cooked for you. I washed your clothes. I did dishes. I picked out pictures to put on your wall. Like I helped you go shopping for your kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not throwing that back in anybody's face. It's part of those roles, right? The unspoken expectations. So I can see both point of views because I've sat in that seat. I've also played the role, but not like your girlfriend, where I understood where the male sat in the relationship. And there was times where in the background, I'm really pulling it, but behind the scenes and under the table, it's like, I know you don't have it, but we don't need to let everybody else know. So, you know, I done transferred the money into your account, so just swipe your card. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen that. It's just a time and a place for everything. But you need to have that conversation. Like, hey, we're going to go see the president of Wakanda. I just want you to know, normally you don't open the door for me because we don't have to worry about that. But in this instance, let's just show face because people don't understand our relationship, right? That's communication. Like we don't really have, hey, I really want to go out to dinner with Karen and them, but hell, the French fries are $50, and I know this is out of our budget, but I've been saving, so can we go? I got us covered. Like, have those conversations before you make your spouse or your partner look funny in front of other people. And that's where the issue is when it comes to doing any of that stuff.
Yeah, communication is key. You're right about that, Niche. It's just having that conversation and being able to, especially on a male perspective, a lot of guys don't like to accept. And that's when that pride thing comes into play with a lot of men where, like you said, with the scenario of you may have to cover the bill one time or something, whatever the case may be. Some guys, they're like, man, I feel like I'm less of a man if my woman got this and that. And I tell them, no, that's your helpmate. That's your helpmate. If she's able to hold you down, you should be able to. It's going to be times where you may not be able to, and vice versa. You guys got to help each other. That's why God says you look for a helpmate. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking for a wife or and you're intentional, because nobody's perfect. Nobody is going to be, oh, I got it all. That's male or female. So we all got to be able to bend, not break, but bend and be flexible. You know what I'm saying, with each other. Okay, Nisha's doing this, Ray is doing this. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta. It's a push and pull, a give and, you know what I'm saying, a give and take. That's what a relationship is. Work. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my take on it.
So proud of you, Ray. I'm over here like a proud mama, like, because I remember where you was.
See, Ray's grown, he's mature,
Yes,
he's showing you what a man is like,
So let's talk about where you were, Ray, to where you, right? So
that's what I'm saying. I hit on that a little earlier. Remember when I said
okay. So let's talk about our legacy keepers, right? We're going through all of this. You have a teenage son, you have a 2-year-old, I have adult children, and I have a, teenager. Rossi, you have adult boys and girls, and then you have a teenage, and Keith, you have adult boys. But Keith, you could speak upon it, but you can't really speak upon it because you're happily married. But you figure out that time, right? And you bring these people in your life, right? As our legacy keepers, they're watching us navigate through these relationships, right? And I want you to give your opinion from both perspectives. You being the parent to the children, and then you coming in as the person in the relationship. And we can all, relate from that. So with me, I have a young child and now I have a grandchild. So anybody who comes into my life, they need to understand that my child is 15, soon to be out the house, and the grandbaby, that if you are not able to walk in with a perspective of being a potential grandfather, and I don't say potential, if you're walking with purpose and intent, once we get to that time frame, you are grandpa, you are papa, because that's the role you're fulfilling. Because at this point in my life, if you're laying down next to me every night, we're doing this, and this, and that, with intent, this is what it is. Like I said, marriage is just a piece of paper. It shouldn't have to change anything. And you said you're married before you're married, right? How are we ensuring that our legacy keepers are really not having to go through what it is that we're going through or experiencing, right? Or are we doing a good job of giving them the tools to navigate in these situations so that way they can kind of catch some of the stuff earlier than later if they were put into that position? So I'll give you an example. My daughter, I feel sorry for whoever dates her, my youngest one. She's seen the way I'm navigating.
Yesterday.
And she puts up, her tolerance level is at 0. I mean, I can tell you right now, in her little short, I'm not going to say dating, interviewing phase, if you cannot acknowledge her as a young lady that you were talking to, she's like, Mom, I don't have time for that. And a perfect example was one day she was like, I text him, and then my friend texted him. He responded back to my friend and still hasn't said nothing. So she's like, nope, you see my message. She already puts a value on what it is, right? And it's no excuses. So I think she learned that from me, seeing what I'm going through, where I'm like, I'm not going to put up with X, Y, and Z. But unfortunately, I went months or years before I was able to say what my worth is, where she's acknowledging it from the beginning. My name is such and such. I want to know who your parents are because I want your parents to know my parents. So that way we could sit on the front stoop and play hopscotch or whatever and be comfortable. And if you can't do that very little, then what else are you willing to push me to the side for or hide, from your family? And that's just an example of what I'm going through when after I decide to make that decision with purpose and intent. So what's an example for you guys?
Who had a similar issue with a female friend, where he said that I feel like I'm always there for that person, but the few times that I've tried to reach out for whatever he was dealing with, who knows what 15-year-old boys go through in today's time, but whatever he was dealing with, and she left him on red for like 3 days, and he was like, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, my 15-year-old son's block game is superb. And once you get sent to Blockanda, you don't come back. Like the passport is closed. That's what he calls it. He was like, you want to go to a party? And they'll say, what kind of party? And he'll say a block party, and you're blocked and you're done. But I think that him seeing how I navigated my current relationship with it being a distance relationship, and my previous relationship, I was with him for almost 8 years. I think it's helped him figure out how to communicate what he's feeling with his friends and potential interviewees. I like that you said interviewing. I was like, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I do believe that what they see us go through, like, and we may not think that they see certain things. These kids are very observant.
They see everything.
Like, he's come back and be like, so Mom, I remember when. I was like, wait a minute, where were you at?
Yep.
Like, what part of the couch were you hiding on? So they're very observant, and I think that he's been able to see how I navigate certain situations. And I feel like it's helped him be able to be in a comfortable space to say, I'm so and so, this is what I want. If and he's very blunt, so he'll say stuff like, well, if you can't do this, then yeah, I'm not even gonna waste your time. I think he's gotten a lot of that, and I think he's seen some from his godmama over there too. I'm not gonna put it all on me because yeah. Mm-hmm. He watches you too, ma'am.
Take that phone call off a speakerphone in the car. get your two opinions right now, but I kind of want to shift to a latter part where I think Ray can give more input on. So, um, we we understand our purpose and intent from both sides, right? Let's move forward, and we realize that the purpose of why we together, we like it, but it's just not working, right? Life happens and we walk away. What is love after the end? How does that relationship works, right? Once it's over. And that's kind of like where I wanted to get to. So you can piggyback off of being in there from both perspectives, right? And then how is it of once those relationships are over, that footprint that's left, how does it affect the relationship? And then we're going to get Mr. Keith's opinion on it.
Well, wow, that wow. Um, the thing with after the fact is you have to heal. Like, well, I think a lot of people they jump into another relationship quick and rebound, and they never really took the time to heal or what happened or what did you learn from that relationship, why it didn't work or what some things. And I'm speaking from my own experience where I've been where a past relationship, I was like, yeah, Ray, you kind of you messed that up, man. You know what I'm saying? I had to take the honest on that. I had to be accountable, you know what I'm saying? In particular relationship that I know it was me or whatever case. Then I've been on the other side where it's like, no, this ain't really working. I'm glad I stepped back because I saw the red flags. I let them get by, and now, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna tolerate disrespect. I'm not gonna go and. What am I showing my sons? That's what I ask myself when I make any decision moving forward with a relationship or without a relationship. What am I showing my sons? What do they see with daddy? Daddy, and that's a 17-year-old and a 2-year old. Because especially with the 2-year old, because he's gonna see majority of the new relationship if that's what it is. So it's like I have to move very cautious and take my time now because that's why I said earlier with that discernment thing. I pray God give me the best knowledge for discernment because I've I lacked that for a long time. I made some I'm not gonna necessarily say bad choices. What I mean? I was young and it was the glitter, the globe. You know what I mean? It was the look and what this person had and the status and all that. Now I realize everything that glitter ain't gold. You know what I'm saying? Everything that people put on a facade, people put on a representative, and if you get caught up with it, it could you could waste a lot of time and energy where you can meet that around the way person or where it's like, hey, she's down to earth or he's down to earth. We got things in common, and I want to grow with this person. So I say all to say when it comes back to love after the relationship, it's hard. It's how can I put it? Like the healing part is necessary. The healing is necessary, and if you had like, for example, Nisha, the friendship we have now is amazing. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't be where we are now if we didn't go through what we went through back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I cherish you as a friend now. I always joke and laugh. Oh, you guys are like, man, that's a friend. I got a friend for life. You know what I'm saying? Some people are meant to be there for a season. Some people for a reason. And I've learned that, and it's tough though. It's tough, and to hit on what you were saying, Niche, like I don't know. It's hard to explain. I think you really got to take time to heal and grow and learn from whatever you did or whatever relationship. Every relationship, it's a lesson somewhere. It's a lesson somewhere. Whether you want to agree or you don't or realize it's a lesson, it's something. Whether you did it or the other person, but you're going to learn something. That's kind of my take on it. Keith, what you think?
I would say from outside looking in, going straight to the question, what is relationship, what does love look like after it's over with? I would say it's a twofold. If you have children involved, you obviously going to have to get to a point real soon
Yes.
to be able to co-parent, and your hard feelings, you got to get over them. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they have to be dealt with and move on. Because again, and particularly when you have younger children, they're going to harbor, they're going to adapt those same harsh feelings to whomever left is not with them at that moment if you're not careful. So you have to do that. And I hadn't personally had to go through it, but I am now. My oldest son has just recently went through a divorce, and so it hasn't necessarily been a clean process. And dealing with a 9-year-old daughter that is broken his heart. He missed.
Yeah.
There's no type of time and anything that you can set to how much he wants to be with her in there. So they're working through that. He's in the military, trying to get back this way so he can starting to forge that relationship. Being a girl, she's crazy about her father. And every time that moment when they come together it reunites the relationship, and they break up when he got to go home. It's just like, okay, here's the crying, the hard relationship. She's understanding it, but it's still my dad is not here.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to mend those fences and move on. And then with the co-parenting, obviously, maybe try to get away from, if you're still having your heart feeling, maybe not just express it around the child.
That's why I say the healing part, because and like you said, the hit with the kids, that's a whole different avenue. Like, prime example, when me and Nisha started dating, I had my brothers, her children, like, now these are bonds and, where our children were affected by it. You know what I'm saying? And these people that now looking back years down the line, like, it's like, wow, like, what if? The question is the what if. My brother, it's things that Nisha showed him that he's still like, Nisha taught me that. Like, he has a cooking thing. He loves cooking. He loves cooking because Nisha used to cook. You know what I'm saying? So, and he will cook with her. You know what I mean? So, and that's what he was 11, 12 when. Yeah. So it's like those are things like think like he loves the fact that we have a friendship now. Oh man, that's cool. You and Nisha, even all these years later, y'all good friends now. And he always speaks highly of you know what I mean? And I tell Nisha all the time, I'm forever indebted to her because she played a huge role in both my brothers' lives, you know what I'm saying, to help them get to where, they got and accomplished because when I wasn't there, when I was in the military, she was the backbone. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm always giving you flowers, Nisha. I just want you to know that. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that for life.
And excuse me to cut you off, but also in that same vein, you don't want to just keep harboring a bunch of hard feelings because that also begins to affect your health, the person that you are.
Yeah.
Tanisha, you couldn't be the kind, generous person you are if you were still, damn. Now, I'm not calling no names, but here we go. So, pardon the language, but just being genuine honest. So, you got to get over that and move on. You can harbor your feelings when you're home by yourself, or when you're around and speaking into your daughter and your friends, and you don't do that. We're all good friends, and we spend a fair amount of time talking to each other, so we know a lot of the personal, the ins out, how we feel, what we've gone through, those emotions as well. So the sooner you get over that, you can get back to being the person you really want to be, who you really are, and can be good to any and the next person.
True.
So let's talk about that. I mean, we brought up the kids and then the friends. Love after the end. We Ray, you kind of took some of my shine when I wanted to say how you don't. No, but it's cool.
Yeah.
When now in today's world, families are coming already existing, right? They are pre-made,
Mm.
and if if you're chosen to have a child with that person, now you're adding it. And just like you said, when we walk away, most people only think about their kid in that relationship, right? You spend 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years with somebody and you have a blended family and you don't work anymore. You can't only focus on who you brought into this world because just like you said, you make an imprint on every person whose path you cross, right? Especially like that. You know, the boys, my kids, you know, fast forward so many years later, my youngest child doesn't really know you per se, right? But if you look at her with your new 2-year-old, you would think the two of them grew up together
Yeah, that's
the
true.
whole time, right? Um, Rossi, our kids, I think they seen each other more within the last 6 months than the years that we have completely been friends. And the
Tua and
tightness,
Nevaeh met for the first time,
correct,
like face
six
to
months ago,
face in July.
July, right? But you would never know that because of the relationship that Rossi and I have. It's that love blends, like it just poured into our kids. So to our kids, right, they are cousins, or and depending on what the situation is, big brother, little
Little
sister,
sister, yeah.
you know. And I just feel that the after is something that's more important that us as a community we need to pay attention to because we marinate in that more than we do when we're actually in the relationship, right? That the after I feel is more damaging and can have so much more
Yeah,
input on the children than the wow, right?
definitely agree.
My my marriage ended. There's no communication with my biological kids and my ex-husband. But his son, I'm still Miss Tanisha. He comes home for Thanksgiving, for Christmas. He comes home. He's a key, a code to my door. You know, I am still his bonus mom, right? At the end of the day, I'm not going to walk away from that. You want to know why? Because in this world more, like I said, we have more families that's already existing that when they move on, it's going to be worse because these kids are having kids younger, more than one parent, baby mother, baby father, you know, it's so many dual. In some relationships, you can have 3 sets of parenting going on with one person, right? So the man can have 3 different women who he has kids with, or the female can have 3. For any one of our kids to walk into that situation, I need them to have clarity. I need them to have a good purpose of understanding what their role is going to be in there. You're talking about one woman, 3 kids, 3 different males that they will have to deal with from a fathering point of view. I need their intentions to be pure, right? And one, I also don't want them to become another part of that equation unless that was planned. And this part that Ray, you and I, we do so well together is just showing it's capable. It's capable for you to love, be hurt, heal, and grow, right? Um, I, I included this in part of my emotional inheritance, and I think that's what made it easy for me to move on. Is okay, you're an ex. You're an ex because we couldn't love each other in that way. How do we redefine the love that we have for each other now? And how do we make that easy for people to understand that it's not the love that you think it is. It's not the love that I want to sleep with you, but it's a genuine love for you as a person. You know, that's where in this growth mindset, we we have issues loving after the end. It doesn't have to stop at all.
I mean, to hit on what you're saying, Nish, you're right. And I think, like, with me and you, we went through the healing process. We got over the hurt, we got over it. And it took time. You know what I'm saying? We had our downfall, we had our ups and downs, but we learned from it. And then with growth, we also know the true, genuine person that you're dealing with. I know your heart. You know my heart. You know, well, Ray's not good. That's not Ray, or that's not Nisha. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of we're able to be friends and have the understanding. The best part about it is the transparency that we have with each other now. We talk about everything. You know what I'm saying? And that like, and I love it because that is a different type of love. Like you said, the love is there as a friendship, as like I told you, a friend for life, regardless. Yeah, you may be my ex, we had a past. That's exactly what the past. What we learned, we experienced, and we grew from it. You know what I'm saying? And we laugh and joke about it sometimes. Oh, remember back then, whatever. But we have that bond and that friendship now to where it's like we could be cool. Have I dated women? I told them about you. Oh, of course. You know what the question was? Y'all still sleeping together. Y'all just saying, I'm like, God, here we go. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the typical society's look. They think two exes or two people that used to be involved cannot be cool, who can't be friends, who can't love each other after. You know what I'm saying? I don't give them the backstory. It's not their business. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell you we got 20, 23 years worth of history. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've known this woman for 2 decades plus. I don't need to explain myself to you. If I'm telling you that I have a friend who, yes, we dated, we were exes, and I don't want you feeling any type of way, I'm giving you that common courtesy because I didn't have to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? I chose to tell you that. So, you know, society rules, and that's why I tell people all the time. Everybody talk about society, this and that. No, you don't base your life on society because everybody's life is different. You know what I mean? There's people
Mhm.
who got back together after 40 years, and I know a couple that got married twice. You know what I mean? So that's life. You just I've learned, like, I'm living off this now. I say it now all the time. When it comes to people, especially people that's in your circle, less means more. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because it's like you value the people that value you. You care about the people that care about you. You be involved with the people that's involved with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not caring what man they talked about Jesus. They're gonna talk regardless. You know what I mean? So that's my take on it, though.
Okay. Well, I think we can sit for 5 hours and talk about all different perspectives of loving after the end. Um, I would like to have the next episode where we talk about something important that will make us be better people as we're navigating through this process, and mental health and the how okay it is to say I can't and I need help, or I just need someone to talk to. I need that space. Yeah, Rossi and I were talking this morning, and I was just saying, we all go through stuff, and just off this few conversations, there was little topics to where we probably have redundant phone calls with each other about the same thing, and you would never really feel if somebody's calling out. And I was telling Rossi that I'm very blessed to have friends like you guys where I don't really even have to go deep into the conversation. Just by my hello, you guys are able to tell by my tone that this is not a normal conversation. Like I need you to stop what you're doing and listen to me, right? I would like the next episode where we talk about, do we have that in our village? I watched a brief TikTok video dealing with somebody else, and the guy said that his key word when his friends need to talk is, do you have 8 minutes? Right? Because the friend kept saying, I was reaching out. And then he's looking at his text messages, and it was like, hey, are you busy today? You want to come over? None of those seemed any different than a regular conversation. So And I don't want to get deep into mental health. Like, we're not therapists. I just want to get deep into the point that, do we understand when our village is in need of help and a cry, to where we can give them that 8 minutes that they're needing, if that makes sense, and kind of navigate the people around us. And, have we missed a target? Have we, are we doing what it is that we need to be doing, and really listening and not just hearing what's going on around? But that's my 2 cents about today's show. And hopefully we can get together soon and kind of piggyback off of that topic, because all of these issues, to love, to build a legacy, to just coexist in life, it's not easy, and you need to have that person to lean on. And I'm wondering if we really all have that out there like that. So, Ray, thank you for hosting us.
No problem.
And yeah, next time we would like some wine.
I offered. I offered.
Yes,
Definitely offered. You could have wine, liquor. I got everything. But, I appreciate that. We was able
No,
to-
wait. I want to do something special.
Oh Lord, here we go.
This is love in legacy.
Only the knees.
Only knees,
Yeah.
I tell you.
Love you, Roxy.
Love you, Roz.
Take care.
Pray for us, Roz.